I think that really was an awakening moment for a lot of fans to see that women do have what it takes to be what people would want to see in a fighter. Because I think for a very long time, there was this notion that like, oh, I don't think women would do that, you know? I don't think they could do that. I don't think they're tough enough, strong enough, you know, whatnot. Like this is a man's sport. This is not for women. And I think that moment, like me breaking my arm backwards, like, or Ronda breaking my arm, but like not refusing to tap and just being, you know, tough and resilient, just sent this message out to the world that was kind of like, yeah, women are here for this and we are warriors.
She grew up in Tacoma, Washington. No silver spoon, just a tomboy who walked into a boys' wrestling room as a freshman in high school and said, I belong here. The only girl on the mat, and she didn't just survive. She became a multi-time wrestling champion before she even threw a punch. By 25, she submitted legendary fighters, a woman nobody had ever submitted, to become the Strikeforce Women's Bantamweight Champion, Female Fighter of the Year, the woman who proved that grit and grappling could take you to the top of the world. Her rivalry with Ronda Rousey didn't just make headlines, it changed the sport. Dana White said their rivalry was the reason that the UFC opened its doors to women's MMA. She became the first fighter to ever escape the Rousey armbar multiple times. She didn't just compete with the most dominant women on the planet, she made the whole world respect women's fighting. Then at UFC 196, in front of millions watching worldwide, she dragged Holly Holm to the canvas in the 5th round, locked in a rear naked choke, and became the UFC Women's Bantamweight Champion of the world. 20 professional fights, 20 professional wins, 8 submissions, 4 knockouts, 2 performance of the night bonuses, a playable character in EA Sports UFC, nearly 2 decades of elite competition, a pioneer, a trailblazer. The resume stands alongside the greatest to ever do it, man or woman. But the cage is half her story. Former vice VP of One Championship, the largest MMA promotion in Asia, Celebrity Big Brother Season 3 champion, all-time record holder for the most competition wins in the show's history, and the first ever athlete to ever win it. Certified behavior change coach, certified hyperbaric expert, host of the Built for Growth podcast, sitting down with the CEOs, entrepreneurs, world-class minds every week. A mother to a woman who chose to save a life during a scuba diving emergency, 2 million followers, a brand and legacy built from the ground up. She inspired a generation of young girls to believe that they belong on the mat. She inspired young men to respect the power and the heart of women who refuse to quit. She didn't just open the doors of this sport, she kicked them down and held them open for everybody coming after her. Octagon, boardroom, television, motherhood, media, she walks into every arena and walks out on top. That's not just a fighter, that's a line. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the check-in, former UFC Women's Bantamweight Champion of the world, Cupcake Miesha Tate.
Hey.
Hey.
That was a mouthful. Thank you.
Well, there's a lot of accolades to get down to it.
It's like some of those I forgot about. I was like, oh yeah.
It's amazing. Like, you know, I've followed your career for a long time, and when I moved down to Vegas, I remember you walking into the gym and I'm like, holy crap, that's Miesha Tate. And then when I was fighting over at one, I'm like, holy crap, that's Miesha Tate. and I'm like, and it's like, you haven't just inspired women, you've inspired men. You have an amazing story, like, you know, underground story. And the thing is, you're from Washington. So I'm from the northwest, like the North Coast. So I'm just right underneath you in Canada. So what was it like growing up in Tacoma in Washington?
You know, well, it was a lot of rain. That's the first thing that jumps into my brain. No, but in all seriousness, yeah, I think where I grew up, I had 5 acres, so I had a lot of space outside. So I was very much an outdoorsy kid. I was climbing trees all the time. I was climbing everything that I could possibly find. So I was a bit of a daredevil. And my mom, I was a tomboy, as you mentioned. I hated to wear dresses or skirts because they impeded my playing, you know. And, you know, there were things as a young girl you were told you can't do because you're in a skirt. And I'm like, well, then I don't want to wear a skirt. Yeah, I remember I was a good kid. I didn't really get in much trouble, but I was always very curious. So I was like a curious George character, you know, a little monkey that was always just like getting into things, like not really trying to be bad, but just like wanting to like conquer. Right. And I remember I climbed on top of my grade school and I got the cops called on me. I just wanted to know what was up there, you know. But no, it was all innocent. Yeah, I was a pretty good kid, not troubled youth or anything. So sometimes people assume that, you know, or can be a natural precursor for a lot of people that they have a troubled youth and troubled kid, and sports saved them. I think sports changed my life, but I wasn't one of those kids that had like a really rough upbringing. You know, I have like 2 loving parents, and
Yeah.
mostly good.
Yeah, like I think we're pretty familiar in both those. Like I was an accountant and I found MMA, so and I didn't come from any kind of gang background or anything like that. Do you think that curiosity that you had, is that something that you wish your own kids would have? Because that ultimately would say that it led you to what you have become today.
Absolutely, because I think when you're curious about things, then you have a hungry nature to want to problem solve and to get through situations that you find yourself in because you're curious, and you're in a precarious situation, but you get through it and you're like, I can do that. I can do hard things.
Right.
And I think that's such an important mentality to have. I don't think I ever would have went out for the wrestling team because it was all guys. And it was just my best friend and I, Sharon, and we wanted to play a sport, and we were freshmen in high school. So we were just transitioning from that middle school schedule to the high school schedule. And in the winter, it was only basketball for women. And I'm not a basketball player. I don't like it. And I didn't want to play it, but I wanted to play a sport. And so she was like, same for her. And she's like, why don't we go out for wrestling? And I was like, can we even do that? It's just like for guys, right? And well, it turned out that if they didn't have a women's wrestling team, they had to let us do it. So we showed up, and they kicked our asses. Like it was
Did
tough.
the guys not hold back? Like how was it for them? Like obviously wrestling can be a pretty, like, you know, it can be uncomfortable in certain situations.
Yeah.
But how the guys feel about that?
No, they didn't hold
care.
back. You know, it was very much sink or swim. And I think they thought that we just missed the message. Like, this is not for girls. Very clearly. Like, how did you not know that when you walked into this room, you know? And so I think they intentionally tried to make it harder, including the coaches, because they were like, look, let's just like show them that they're not cut out for this. And we'll just make sure that they know it's very clear, and we'll get them out of here. But I just fell in love with it. I loved that it was so challenging, and bringing back to that curious mentality. You know, if I was less confident about getting myself into curious situations, then I think I may have been apprehensive. But just being the kind of kid that I was, and just not being afraid to climb everything, to try to conquer everything, to do go into the uncharted territory. I mean, there wasn't a tree within eyesight that I wouldn't dare to climb. And I mean, we have huge, 2-3 story, evergreen pine trees, like if I could get up that tree, I was going to climb it. So that was just the personality that I was. And I think when I went out for wrestling, it kind of was something that gave me a little bit of foundation to lean on, just like knowing that I can thrive in uncomfortable situations.
Do you think it was because it was a time where you had to use your imagination more, like during those times? Like I feel like now you don't hear as many of those stories with kids because they're so occupied with everything else, right? We do put them in front of screens or something like that, like to go explore. Do you think it was boredom that allowed you to kind of almost be like, hey, listen, like I got to make the most of my time, which ultimately would lead you to, in situations, being on a wrestling team?
Yeah.
And going into MMA.
That's such a great point. I love boredom for kids. I think it's very important because when you're bored, you're forced to create that creativity and drive from within yourself. When you have constant stimulation from the outside, it's whatever is coming from the outside that's filling your cup. And I think it's important to be able to fill your cup from the inside. So whenever my kids tell me they're bored, I'm like, that's great. Go blow some dust bunnies,
Right. Yeah.
So I do have them on electronics, but I really limit the time. And I notice a big difference when they're on them a lot versus like if they're not on them very much, because they get bored and they just get so stuck in boredom, and it takes them a while to like get out of it. But I didn't have that as a kid because I didn't have those electronics. Or if I did, it was just like a little bit of video games after the sun goes down.
Right.
I'd play a little bit, but not much. And there was just like such a fun, it was such a fun time to grow up in that.
Well, we're 1 year apart, so we grew up in the same time, basically.
Yeah.
And yeah, it was different.
It was so rewarding.
You would go bike riding. Your parents would never be worried, which was weird. Like they would never be worried where you were.
Well, social media has blown things so far, potentially out of proportion, where I think we're hyper concerned about all these things, like we're inundated, which, the real risk is probably relatively low, but it is there. So I don't blame people for wanting to be safe with their kids. But at the same time, I think there are like some creative ways where we can still have safety, but also, encourage our kids to like step outside the box, like have them go in and order their own food. Like go, I'll do it. My 7 and 5 year old, I'll like pull up and I'll like park right in front of like we'll go to Piana Cafe. Have you ever been there here in Vegas?
I've seen it.
Yeah, so they every once in a while we'll go and get a musubi, and I'll be like, here's my card. You go in and order it, and you pay for it, and you do the whole thing. And I'm like watching, you know, so it's safe.
Right.
But they're gonna go in with unassisted without an adult and tell them what they want and order and pay for it and do all those things, because like that I think is facilitating their courageousness and like, oh, I can do that and I'm capable, and that's something that I think was easier to do in our upbringing, because it was just like parents would just like toss us outside and be like, you know,
just go figure it out. Exactly. Don't die.
But yeah, I'm grateful that I grew up at that time, and I really hold on to that. You know, I get the question a lot of times about my kids and electronics, and not to get off on too much of a tangent, because this is a constant battle that I have too. It's so easy. When I turn an electronic on, I turn my child off.
Right.
And that is a concept that it's like, I know there has to be balance. They're going to need to know how to use these things, but I really want my children to be creative and confident from the inside. I hate the extra stimulus, and I also think it makes the rest of the things more boring for them.
Yeah.
Like we didn't have that, so like making, I don't know, like stick toys and stuff was like fun for us. For them, it's not as fun because it's like that hyper stimulation stealing their dopamine.
Right.
So it's a dangerous thing, and I'm just glad that I didn't have to battle with that. And
I think just as adults now, like I notice it for myself. Like we're luckily we grew up at a time so we got the basis and wiring of our brain to have an imagination. But I notice in myself, like obviously as fighters, we're always visualizing fights and stuff. I find my visualization is harder to do now because my imagination is not, it's like a muscle. It's not as practiced often, because whenever we're bored, say we're standing at a grocery line or anything, we don't stand there and just be bored. We're like, this is our time to pull out our phone.
Yes.
I know people that come and pull up to a red light and sit there for 2 minutes without looking at something. And I've been guilty of that stuff. And it's like, we can't have any pockets of boredom anymore. And those pockets of boredom, we don't realize we killed the very thing of imagination.
Creativity.
And especially
exploration. And sometimes even just unpacking some things, you know? Like sometimes we just need to like unpack stuff with ourselves.
And as soon as we're kind of faced with that, we reach. Like as soon as we reach that, like you're saying, if you got to face something, something within yourself, you got to meditate, you got to go deeper within yourself. Once that uncomfortable kind of feeling really sets in, it's so easy to just reach in, just kind of reset. Like, oh, I got to see. Like I started noticing when I was going in my infrared sauna at home, I would never have it and never have my phone. And all of a sudden I'm like, it's been a week and I brought my phone in here every time. And I put on the music to meditate and I just start scrolling. And I'm like 20 minutes, 30 minutes. I'm like, what the hell?
Does your phone overheat?
No, I keep it a little bit at the bottom. So,
You're like,
yeah. I take it into the PI sauna. Like, it's like,
I know that. I've been guilty of that too. Like cold wrap, I would get like a cold towel and like wrap my phone kind of like, or hold it under it. So it's ridiculous.
So like I haven't practiced like my visualization muscle in so long. So I am dreaming of coming back to fighting. So I'm kind of visualizing and put myself, but it's like really hard. It's like exhausting for me because I haven't practiced that muscle in so long.
It is a muscle.
It's 100% a muscle. It's like when I get close to a fight, I can just step into it.
Yeah.
Just step into like that visual process. And now it's like, oh, this is exhausting. I don't really want to do this.
Yeah. Yeah. You got to exercise it. And that's true. It's like, so I think it's like carving out those times, you know, like maybe when you're in the shower or when you're in the sauna, just like, this is like deliberate time. I'm going to exercise my, this part of my brain that doesn't get as much as it did when we didn't have all these cell phones and constant stimulation.
I know. It's like a whole different age now. It's like, even though you're not trying to give the screens, it's like you have those situations where you got to check the phone while you're taking care of your kid. And
such a struggle.
And you're like, oh, I just flash the screen in front of his face or her face.
And they want it. And they're like, what are you interested in? They want to know what you're interested in, because that's no matter what you're doing. The kids are going to want to know and be a part of it. It's like how they learn how to live. But these phones have just like infiltrated our lives. And we think we're so much more productive, but I might argue that in a lot of ways we're less productive because we're just having to juggle a lot more.
Yeah, where we're having to juggle a lot more, we're able to be productive of tasking things, tasks to other things. But as far as our own brain of able to be juggling it, we're not.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, so I consider you one of the biggest faces of women's MMA. Some of the most heated rivalries. Without you being part of the equation, I don't see women's MMA where it is today. How important do you think like we can just go into the Ronda rivalry. Like, how important do you think that was during that time, in that point? Because Dana was like not giving you guys an opportunity.
Right.
And I feel like if you guys hadn't had the story that you guys had, it wouldn't have got the attention that it did.
Yeah. I think that there's obviously a time when, you know, Dana was any microphone that was in front of his face, and he was being asked a lot about women's MMA, and he's like, well, it will never happen. 2011, 2012, I fight Ronda for the first time in Strikeforce, and it does pretty well. Like, people were into it. We had a real genuine, heated rivalry. And it was fun, and it was a good fight. You know, I lost, but I like wouldn't tap, and my arm got like hyperextended. People were like, "Whoa!" I think that really was an awakening moment for a lot of fans to see that women do have what it takes to be what people would want to see in a fighter. Because I think for a very long time there was this notion that like, I don't think women would do that, you know. I don't think they could do that. I don't think they're tough enough, strong enough, you know, whatnot. Like, this is a man's sport. This is not for women. And I think that moment, like me breaking my arm backwards, like, or Ronda breaking my arm, but like not refusing to tap and just being, you know, tough and resilient, she just sent this message out to the world that was kind of like, yeah, women are here for this, and we are warriors. And you know, then Dana took us into the UFC. He gave me a great bonus and brought women into the UFC. And it was just a big moment. And then our rivalry just continued from there. And to this date, we still have the biggest rivalry ever in women's MMA history. But, you know, when I was going through it, I had no idea about any of that. So I didn't have the foresight that I do sitting here in hindsight, right? To be able to look back and see how impactful these moments were. And I remember a lot of it just being so incredibly difficult for me because I never was better than Ronda. I could never best her. And I never got that, you know, that third opportunity. And, you know, I would have loved to, but I would like 100 opportunities until I could just get one on her, you know. But she's so incredibly talented, and she had a different upbringing. You know, her mom was waking her up as a small girl in an armbar, you know, and her mom is an incredible judoka herself.
I've seen interviews of her mom, and I'm like, I get it.
I'm like, I get it. And she's a legit athlete.
I'm like, I get it why she is the way she is.
Yeah, and you know, so we all have our crosses to bear and our things that we're gonna do and be great in the world. And I remember when I went out for wrestling at the age of 15, which is when I first got my feet wet in any type of mixed martial arts. So I think by, you know, the gold standard, I was behind the curve, at least by today's standard. You know, kids are doing this so much younger. My son and daughter are 5 and 7, and, you know, they're doing martial arts. So, and I was very little support. You know, my dad didn't want me wrestling. He was uncomfortable with it. Everybody thought it was weird. This was not something that I was like widely supported. My mom was working. She wasn't there a lot. So it's just like my journey to getting to the UFC just looked a lot different. And, you know, I may not have had the time and opportunity and the resources. You know, I grew up very, like not wealthy. Like my family worked hard. So I say like, you know, I did grow up on 5 acres. That was inherited from my grandmother, thankfully. But I remember when I was a little girl, like my mom was a single mom at first. And then like we lost power to our house at one point. Okay, to paint a picture. So we have this 2-story house. The roof has holes in it. It's leaking water. It's wintertime, water and or snow or rain. Okay, so it's a dilapidated sort of building situation, and the power gets turned off because my mom can't afford to keep the power on, and so she had a friend of hers. His name was Virgil, who worked for the power company, and so he came over. He felt so bad because you know, I was young. I don't remember a lot of this, but I know that I was like not school age yet, at 4 maybe. And he felt so bad for us. He took pity on us and he flipped our meter on And she's like, so long as you keep it like really, really low, like the power company shouldn't notice.
No.
Yeah. So we basically quarantined ourselves to one back room. We called it the study,
Okay.
but that was like the bedroom. That was like the everything room.
Right.
And we had like one small heater. And I remember at one point it being so cold in the rest of the house, like leaving to go into the bathroom. You know, like you have these vivid memories as a kid that you don't remember everything.
Yeah, yeah.
But I remember cereal. I remember having cereal a lot. And I remember the toilet water being frozen over in the toilet. And that was like, what? Like toilet water can freeze? I mean, I was so young. I had no idea. I was like, it's solid. You know, but that was short-lived and it was really character building. My mom was a very hardworking woman. She didn't let us stay in that situation for very long, but that's, you know, that was the beginnings for me. And it was so, such a neat experience now that I look back on that.
Now that you look back on it.
That I look up and there was no, to it, there was no electronics. Like this was her and I bonding time. Like we read stories, we tickled each other, we like played games, we just talked, we just hung out, we were bored. We, you know, we did such a beautiful time for like a mom and a daughter to have.
Right.
That I think that today's world just may not ever afford that.
Yeah.
We have to make a conscious choice to have those moments.
And it would
now.
just happen before.
Yeah, where it was just easier to have those moments. So it was really neat and character building.
And the thing
back
is,
on it.
and the thing is, like when you're character building in those situations, you don't even know where that character building is going to take you in life, right? Like what you're witnessing your mom working hard. You're witnessing a frozen toilet. You're noticing that you got to live on such limited things. And so you kind of build this character of being always appreciative of things and always kind of grinding for things and always working for things. And you don't know what it's going to translate into. Like would you have known it would have gone into MMA? Like my dad, he still works at the sawmill that he worked in from the day he came from India. And I've watched him and he hasn't left that job and I just watched this guy work double shifts since I was born. My mom still works as a baker since day one in the small town that we grew up in. They don't live in the big city yet. And it's just like, I took that and that's all I knew and brought it into MMA. I was like, okay, the only way to get success is work hard. Keep putting in work. Do double, so double training sessions, triple training sessions. And that's the only thing I knew. I didn't inherit anything. Didn't inherit any wealth or anything like that, or kind of here's a pacifier, you're one step ahead of everybody. And it's like it's like you said, it's neat to look back at, to reflect on and to be like, damn, like something like, you know, if you want to believe in a higher power, that God was kind of building a plan for me without me knowing that he was building something for me. In those situations, you just don't know.
Yeah. And I look back at it and I really didn't even know we were poor. Like I never felt the impact.
It's crazy how our parents don't let us feel that.
No, I never felt it. I
thing.
never felt the stress. I never felt the impact. But I was just aware that I had like a consciousness of like, we can't be wasteful, you know, but.
And that probably translated over too, which helps which probably helps cost a lot, man.
Yes, absolutely. So I think I still have
I'm like that in my household.
Yeah, I have that kind of mindset still. I know that there's no amount of money that I could ever make that will just make me be like a hyper wasteful, gotta have, you know, 10 pairs of, I don't know, like these shoes and a Prada bag. And like, I don't need all that stuff because I feel like I have what's most important to me. And that's my faith and that's my peace.
Right.
And those two things together are so powerful that I feel like all the other things around me are bonuses in this life. And when I have the foundation, right, that like nothing can shake me.
Right.
So.
And that I think is ultimate wealth. That in my eyes, I feel like that is ultimate wealth.
Yeah.
And like you can get everything you want. Like I'm sure you've been around like very wealthy people and stuff like that. You'll always feel like they're missing something if they don't grab that. Like you know, realize that. Yeah. And it's like you know, we both trained around Brazilians from Brazil that come from nothing. They're always smiling. They're always ready to go. Yes. They just live. They'll sleep in a janitorial closet and you'll feel like they came from a mansion and they got picked up in a Rolls Royce, but they have nothing, but they're the happiest.
Exactly.
And it's like they just have their faith, they have their God, and they have their family, and that's what they're built upon.
Those are the riches.
And those are the riches.
Yeah. So
I think MMA teaches you. I think that's the beauty of the game that we're in, jiu-jitsu, MMA. I think it's one of those things that's so raw that it teaches you that. It always keeps you there. Yeah. It keeps you there even as you elevate because MMA and jiu-jitsu is always going to humble you.
Yeah.
Like we say, like we've been in rooms where you never feel like you're the best one there. There's always somebody, there's always somebody better. So your heart's always, You're hard to
Especially
each other.
now, like, oh my gosh, these young
Yeah.
kids are getting so good so fast. It's
Yeah.
incredible. Like going in the room now and just like, dang, there's some killers.
And you don't even know who's who. Like you look at Mikey Musumeci. You would never think of Mikey Musumeci is like one of the most dangerous guys around.
I know.
And he can tear your knee. And we've seen it.
Yep.
Tearing it in 6 different spots and taking somebody out for a year.
Yep.
I've also noticed that. Like, do you feel like women in MMA gyms kind of like, it's kind of like what you were saying in the wrestling room. You kind of had a chip on your shoulder to prove. And it's almost like you still have to always got to prove yourself in the rooms, like, you know, even Extreme Couture, because I'll help the women train. I'll spar with them. And I feel like my most dangerous rounds, including you, are going with you guys. The most damage I take are in those rounds with you guys. Like, and I feel like, I don't know what it is. Like I was hoping Lupi Godinez, who just fought in Miami, and I'm like, why am I getting hit so much? But I can go with the guys and we're just flowing. And I feel like you guys just kind of bring more into the gym. And I feel like at every round, you guys always got to prove something, especially if you're going with the guy. I've seen you spar some of these, like I've seen you get ready for a fight and I'll look in the corner and all the guys will stop and we'll be like, dude, are they like mad at each other? Because you guys do bring that, and you know you do.
With 2 females fighting or
two
a guy
females
and a
sparring.
girl?
Yeah,
Okay.
2 females sparring.
Yeah.
It gets wild. It's sometimes more fun to watch than to be on the mat sparring.
Yeah. Yeah, you know, I think what it is, well, I know for me, I can't speak for all females. I definitely try to leave emotions to the side. Of course, there's times when you do actually get pissed in a round,
Right.
you know? You feel like someone did something that was like not totally right or controlled or safe, and you lose your temper. But for the most part, like I'm just having fun and I'm bringing my intensity. But I also know that when I am training with the guys, I also don't want to disrespect you in a round by being a weenie.
Right.
You know, like I want to know, like I'm trying to give you, I'm very conscientious that you're there to work. You're not there to like play games. You're trying to be the best. You're trying to beat men. And like if you're giving me a round, like I want to make sure that I'm giving you like at least the best that I can do, so that it's hopefully somewhat of a challenge.
Okay.
Somewhat of a challenge, you know, like so part of it is like a respect thing, is like, oh shit, like I gotta be on my game. Like I'm sparring a man, and I don't want to waste his time. I don't want him to think I'm, you know, and like
I didn't think about it like that. I was like, because I'm like, like, you know, you'll still go hard. Like, you know, if I'm going with a woman, I will pick up my speed. I'll be more fluid, but I'll hold back the power.
Yep.
But then all of a sudden, she's throwing hooks and crosses. And I'm just like, yo, I haven't been hit behind the head that hard. Like, I just have this situation up like 2 weeks
No, I'm
ago.
not saying all women are doing that. I don't know. Because like some women just have like, sometimes there's an insecurity there of like, I really need to make sure that they know that I'm like, you know, this, I don't think that the guys have that as much, because it's like, we know that there's not the difference of like, you know, but for a female, sometimes we feel like we have to prove ourselves. I don't have that. I don't struggle with that so much, but I know that there are a lot of women out there who try to go as hard as they can against the guys, because it's like, it's like they just want to feel as equal to them as possible. As for me, it's like, I don't need to feel equal to you. I already know, like, you have testosterone on your side. Like, we're apples and oranges. But I don't want to waste your time. I definitely, like, I know that pro practice is 90 minutes out of your day that you get to train to be the most elite version of yourself. And so I don't want to, you know, be like, oh my gosh, this is like a drill round. Great. You know, like I want to make sure I'm challenging you, while being respectful.
Do you think younger female fighters that come into the gym want to test you? Because you are Miesha Tate. You are the woman that literally opened the door for majority of them. Do you ever feel like that in these sparring sessions?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, definitely. I think that there's some sense of like, I want to make sure that I'm like, I want to know that I'm better than her, you know? So it's always just like holding my own within respect. In these, you know, everyone's so different too. It's not like all women are one way or the other, just like all guys, you know, you have your Sean Strickland sparring in the room. Yeah. And you have you know, like, and you have like every shade in between that. So it's like really is the same for women. I mean, some women go in there and they don't have control. They lack it with the women and they lack it with the men. And it's like, you gotta figure that out, because people are gonna start whooping your ass in this room if you're disrespectful. And they just don't, they're gas, you know, the whole time, and they don't know how to That's just, I wouldn't say it's a character flaw. It's just like you have to learn the flow of the room. So yeah, those are my thoughts on it anyways. And like, if I'm going hard on you, it's because I know that you can handle it. But I also, I don't try to like, unless a guy is like literally like, I want you to like, please, like hit me harder. Like, I don't try to like, I'm not trying to swing for the fences either. Right. I'm trying to be as fast as you are, because you're telling me you're working on speed. Well, then I'm working on speed. You know, like I'm trying to be as good as you are without being disrespectful. That's always my goal, is like push you in the round and like hold my own and give you a good round. But I'm not trying to like cause injury or cuts or, any unneeded head trauma either, Right. Yeah.
Is there situations where you were completely done with this sport, where you were just like, I don't want to do this no more?
Like training or just like fighting?
Just the career, just fighting in general, like just competing.
I think, oh yeah, absolutely. I think there's absolutely a point when it's just like, you just know. And I feel like I'm right at that point, to be honest. Like
right now?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like...
do you have that inner battle, like, I got more, but I don't think I want it? Like,
you know what?
Or are you pretty content at this point?
I'm really happy with where I'm at this point. Yeah. So I'm not officially retired, but I think that it would need to be like a special opportunity for me to consider fighting again, because, we were talking about it. I'm like, my primary job is being a parent. I want to raise well-adjusted, emotionally stable human beings that go out and make this world a better place. Job number one.
Were you ever in the talks for that Gina Carano Ronda Rousey fight? Was that ever...
No.
No?
No,
because Gina kind of came out of nowhere, where like I could understand, like you said, the Ronda Rousey, Miesha Tate rivalry, like that's right away. As soon as I see those two names, I'm like, oh damn, they're gonna do this again.
Right. No, I think what happened was it was in talks in the UFC, and then it kind of quickly wasn't.
Okay.
And I think this is more, Ronda gets what Ronda wants, and look, rightfully so. Like, she's done so much in this sport. If she says that she wants to fight someone, like, pretty much everyone's going to try to make it happen. Right. And the only person that had to really agree was Gina. But like, Ronda wanted to fight Gina.
You're right.
She picked her. And so like, whatever Ronda, at that time, like, she really had to earn that position to be able to call for whoever it was that she wanted to fight. And she wanted the legacy fight. Right. And then they tried to make it happen in the UFC, and it didn't. And then,
this was the Gina and Ronda fight?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, they tried to make that happen in the UFC. And so the story has it that Ronda was willing to come back. She wanted to fight Gina, and Gina was like, okay, I'm interested, but I need more time. And, I think Gina was like, she needed like a lot of time to get in shape. She had some like weight to lose, and she was just like, going through some stuff. So she was like, yeah, I'm interested. But I need more time. And then something happened with like a text message between her and Dana. I actually think that might have happened earlier, so forgive me. But it went too long, and they sold to Paramount. And so when the Paramount deal took over, they weren't going to pay them for that fight what Dana and the previous, like everyone before Paramount was willing to do. And the pay-per-view deal's gone. Yeah. Right? There's no more pay-per-view.
Yeah, it's all Paramount. Yeah, it's all subscription.
So when that happened, it wasn't, I guess, what the ladies wanted, or at least maybe what Ronda wanted. So I think either they released her, or maybe she had fought out her contract and hadn't resigned yet. I don't know the details on that.
And then I guess Jake Paul slid in with MVP and Netflix money, and
that, like, I'm still contracted in the UFC, so that's just not something that
you couldn't even do. That's wild.
Yeah. So, but I'm happy. Overall, this is a good thing.
But if something like something that would motivate you to come, is there something that could motivate you to come back, or are you just like, I don't care what it is?
Oh, I would love to fight Gina.
Yeah, you would?
Yeah. Like, she's really been an idol to me, and like, with all the respect in the world, like, she's just someone who has impacted my life in such a very powerful way. I remember meeting her the first time and just being so nervous, and like, just such a big fan of hers, because she embodied everything that I wanted to be as a fighter. Right. She was beautiful.
She wasn't butch. She was marketable. She was a nice person.
She was strong. Yeah. She was everything. And she was so kind and genuine to me.
Right.
She really, like, looked me in my eyes and she had this deep conversation with me, and she was so sweet. And not only to me, but like I watched her operate for an evening, you know, and she was so kind to
Yeah,
everyone.
but listen to the interviews and she comes off like she's very
genuine.
She seems very genuine.
Yeah. And so she really kind of set that that bar for me, so to speak, of like what I like, that role model situation, because there wasn't a lot of women fighting at that time, and she was headlining on the time, you know, at that time in Strikeforce. This was before women were ever in the UFC, and so I aspired to be where she was, but I also aspired to be a similar person to how she was. I love the way that she carried herself. Yeah.
I've heard that she's actually part of one of the wealthiest families here in Vegas.
I think that's true.
Like Caesar's Palace, her family owns that.
Yeah.
Apparently.
Yeah, I think.
So for her to be a fighter,
right,
to come from that's at least what I've heard.
Yeah, it was like sheer passion and love, and I believe that she wouldn't be doing this right now. You know, she's said it a few times that she's doing it because she wants to. She doesn't need to.
Right.
Like she's in a good place, and she probably doesn't ever have to worry about money again. But this is legacy. This is bigger than that. So I am like genuinely happy for her, and it's good for the sport of women's MMA. It's good for all of MMA because, you know, as great as the UFC is, and everybody wants to be part of it, but it's good to have more promotions and opportunities so that there's a home for somebody and everybody. Because there's a lot of people who want to be, you know, have that opportunity to fight the best, and it sucks when you get bottlenecked. Yeah. You know, into like, what is there? How many divisions is there? 8? Is that off the top of my head?
For women or?
No, like men's?
Yeah, I think there's 8.
Yeah. You can count them later, but roughly, I mean, basically, so there's like 8 or so champions at a time ever. You know, it's like, that's tough because there's so many talented people, and sometimes it just, you don't even get in the door, you know? Yeah.
So with you, like I was trying to think of like, what was my favorite memory of you? So it has to be UFC 196 for me, right? I remember at that time I was under management, the same management that Conor McGregor was under. And so I got to come to the fight. And I just remember, like, you know, I'm going to say, would you say you were behind on the scorecards going into that 5th round?
I was behind on the scorecards going into the 5th round, correct. Okay. No, if I had won that round, it would have been a tie.
Oh, it would have been a tie.
It would have been a tie.
Okay.
Yeah, but technically I was down. Like if she won that round, for sure win for her. If I won the round, it was only a tie. So there was no way I could win the fight if I didn't finish it in that round.
Like some people can argue like there's obviously big women's UFC fights, but I think just the platform, the card you guys were on, I feel like that makes it one of the biggest with the greatest finisher, because you guys were co-main event to Nate Diaz and Conor McGregor. You guys were co-main event.
It was electric.
You guys weren't prelim. I know what it sounded like in there, and I know what everybody was there for was the main event. But then you guys came along, and turned it into one of the craziest moments in the 5th round. And it was like I remember everybody had to like go to the bar and like get a drink and get rehydrated because we're like, we still got the main event. And then Nate Diaz comes and causes one of the greatest upsets right after you create one of the greatest upsets. It was two of the underdogs that took that night, and I feel like changed a big landscape on both sides that night.
Yeah.
And so I was under that management. I remember the energy that night was so different than all the energies we had gone to. Like Jose Aldo fight was so different. All the other ones of all his victories. But then I remember I was sitting there, I was thinking about, damn, Miesha Tate that was absolutely nuts. It was absolutely crazy. And then I went back and read the story that you basically had almost quit before that moment. Like you were about to walk away from this. Like
the sport?
Yeah, but to walk away from the sport.
Yeah, I think I had reached my bottom breaking point before that fight, as wild as that is.
But then how did you pick yourself up and get to that moment? And do you ever look at your life like, when you end up in situations where you're completely burnt out, do you ever go back to that moment? Because you were that moment, like to get yourself to do something that you may not want to do, because you were at a point where you were ready to walk away. And that Holly Holm's moment does not exist had you walked away in a different timeline.
Right.
And all of us remembering it, that arena just completely electric, just absolutely crazy. I watched it again the other day and I was like, damn, I remember sitting there watching this, and I cared about the women's fight, but I cared after like the 2nd round. And I'm sure everybody in that arena changed their narrative on that fight going into that because of you. And it was just absolutely crazy. But in a different parallel universe, that fight doesn't happen.
Yeah.
Do you ever end up in situations where you go back to that for strength?
You know, I wouldn't say that it's that specific moment in the fight, as cool as that would be. It is more this deep sense of no, deep sense of I can, deep sense of worth, deep sense of value, deep sense of I've done hard things, deep sense of I can do hard things. And I think I pulled that out in that fight. I was up against it, and I had to dig deep, and it draws all the way back to those childhood curiosity overcoming moments, all the way through wrestling, all the way through trying mixed martial arts for the first time. I mean, fighting for free for, you know, like free because it's an amateur. I mean, this is not something that women did in 2005. I mean, it was like there was like maybe 2 handfuls of women doing this, but you know, realistically, it was very few and far between that women were going out there and getting in fist fights, much less for free. But I loved it, and I was so passionate about it. And you know, my love for the sport started to dwindle when I was in a toxic relationship for a long time, and I just had the life being sucked out of me. And in that hard moment, I knew, and I had a deep belief in myself that I could do this. I can make it happen, because I had made many things happen in my life with sheer will, you know, and determination, but just none at the magnitude that other people were going to fill this with. Like, I knew I could do it. And so I had to lean on that. And that's just been something that's been there for a very long time in my life. It's a belief my mom's always had in me. It's just pushing myself constantly outside of what's comfortable, and realizing how much I can thrive in a situation where things are uncomfortable. Like that, I actually long for that now. You know, where like some people are afraid of it. Like they don't want to know what their best is. They're afraid of it. They're so scared to take that risk. And for me, it's like, I want to constantly do things that are uncomfortable, because I find the most reward when it's like, what? I didn't know that I could do that, or that they would come of this. Like, and it becomes a bigger dream than you ever even imagined. When I first started doing MMA, I had no inkling whatsoever that I would ever be fighting on television or have a career or be in the UFC. These were all impossible dreams. They didn't even exist at that time. This isn't like kids nowadays that can like look up and be like, oh, there's, you know, Alexa Grasso and Macy Barber. I want to do that. You know, this is not real. This was not, this wasn't a concept. And so for me, it was just the sheer drive of determination, of personal perseverance, of like overcoming the hardships. And one of the most challenging things I could ever do was either step on a mat or step into a ring or a cage and get into a full contact clash with another human being. And as I continued to push myself out of passion, other people seemed to like that.
Of course.
And that was just, you know,
because you give other people energy off of your own energy. That's definitely one of those things. It's like, so like in that moment when you sunk that choke, she taps, what is that feeling like? What did you feel in that moment? Was that like, was it like all these things from the past? Like all this culmination of situations.
I was so laser focused that I remember like I wasn't excited yet. I actually got nervous once I had the choke in, because it felt like eternity. I was like, hey, do I have it? Like I was like, I'm pretty sure like I have this, but she's not tapping. And I was just like, felt like I was like, she's breathing out of her ears. Like, what am I doing wrong? I'm like squeezing the life out of this woman, and I'm not going to let go, but I didn't know how much time was left. So I also was just kind of worried that like time was going to run out. So I was like still anxious, and I was just like squeezing with all my might. And then I remember like, you know, kind of seeing like first person view, like her arms kind of flying and like her shaking. And I was like, is she tapping? I didn't really exactly know what had happened. And then the ref was like pulling me off of her, and I was like, holy shit, like I did it. And I went out and I risked everything in that 5th round, because I really thought that if I got careless at all in that fight, she was going to kick my head into, you know, outer space.
That was after the Ronda Rousey.
Yes, that was after. So I thought that, and I had been knocked out with a head kick before.
Oh, okay.
So I have a prior, like, I'm not the fear, but just like awareness that like I'm somewhat susceptible. Like I've been kicked in the head before. I don't always keep my hands up. You know,
it's a fear that you never remember.
Yes. Like I know that happened.
I know something. I don't remember it, but it happened at some point in my life.
Yeah. So I was just like, okay, you know, don't, you know, you gotta do this one right. But come after the 4th round, doing it right wasn't working anymore because I was slipping rounds. Like she was edging those rounds out of me. And I had a 10-8 second round. I was totally dominant. That was the round you were talking about. That was like kind of made you a fan because she edged out the first round. She out techniqued me. She kind of stayed away. She touched and moved. Second round, I got her down pretty quick and I dropped big elbows. I almost got her in a choke. It was very dominant. Judges gave me, all 3 judges gave me a 10-8 round. Then rounds 3 and 4, she also edged out again in her striking. And around 5, I was like, conscious thought, I have to be ready to get knocked out. Like I have to be willing to risk that in order to have the
You had to have that talk with yourself.
Yeah, have the chance of getting this, you know, taking this belt home.
How important do you think it was to have the coaching and the corners that you had going into that fight?
You know, coaching and corners are just such a big part of what we do, and it's such a thankless job. I would say Robert Follis was an angel for me. You know, rest in peace. Yes, you know, you may have known. Did you know Robert?
I didn't get to train with him, but I obviously now being part of Extreme Couture, I know the impact that he's left. I definitely know. I can see it from all my pad guys like Eddie Baracco or Eric Nixick or like, you know, old teammates like Gustavo Lopez and like, you know, everybody makes some sort of,
reference to him.
It's like that's how Kyle Reyes was to me at Extreme.
He was so great. And he was such a buffer for me also with like the relationship because he knew the dynamic. He knew my ex very well. And so he really helped because prior to that, it was just me and my ex for the most part. And so there was a lot of just mental and emotional stuff that would like happen. And it was just like so hard to get through that. And I realized I'm a very resilient person. And if there was one thing that I was going to say to any women out there is like, just because you can doesn't mean you should.
Right.
You know, I think a lot of times women find themselves in situations where they're with a very controlling man or, you know, a man that doesn't know how to value or appreciate women and like lift women up. Because I think when you find a good, strong man, he's like pushing you up. He's like, I want you up there. I want you up there. I want you to be everything you can be. And I'm like here to support you and like, and vice versa. It's like, that's a great relationship. And when it's not like that, it's so suffocating. And it's not supposed to be like that. And, you know, just so I did because I could, and I endured for a really long time. And then I just kind of was like, I remember after losing my fight to, it's not to Holly, but like I lost my 2 fights after that. And I lost to Raquel Pennington was my retirement fight. And I don't even think I was really there for that fight. It was like an out of body experience. It was wild. But I remember contemplating after, after everything, like, if I keep going this way, I don't think that I like want to live anymore. And I wasn't close to God, you know? So I was contemplating like taking my own life. Yeah. And
did that make you kind of understand Robert's mindset?
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. And fortunately for me, I don't have like a chronic depression where it's like, it never leaves. But I get sad, you know, and I have, and that was like I would say like a seasonal depression where it was like for a season of my life, but it was a long season. It's like 9 years. That's a really long season, but it's not like who I am. It's not like, I don't think like I have a chemical imbalance or anything like that. It was situational. So I had to choose to leave the situation. I was scared to death because I didn't know what my identity was outside of fighting, but I had to cut ties with everything and just remove myself from the situation, which was really scary because I was honestly scared of like what it would do to him too. Because I still, as bad as it wasn't always bad all the time.
Right. It never is.
It never is. That's the thing.
There's a reason you've been with the person.
Correct. Yeah. Correct.
The bad usually outweighs the good moments.
Correct. Yes. And there's a lot of like, you know, manipulation.
That's what toxicity is at the end of the day.
There's a lot of manipulation going on and things like that. So I still didn't want to bring harm to that person. I didn't have like an ill will. I wanted them to like move on and like be happy and make changes and be a better person, you know? So I was also afraid to leave because I was afraid that they would hurt themselves.
Right.
And that was really scary. You know, that was like a constant threat, which I think may have been more of a manipulation tactic than anything again. But eventually I was like, okay, well, I'm to the point where it's like him or I. So I've got
It's
to.
kind of, you were put in a situation where you had to be selfish. Like, you know, you had to think about yourself.
And then that's where my spirituality really showed up. Like, so that's where God showed up for me in that moment. You know, in those moments was like no one else could have been there for me. It was like God was the light in the room. And so I was like, I just had to run in that direction. Yeah. And so that's really.
And I think that's what carried you through even so many other things. Like you, not just inside of MMA, but you absolutely killed Celebrity Big Brother. Like, you know, you take like you.
That was a wild one to me.
And there was high level athletes like Lamar Odom in there, who's separate story on his own, but
yeah, that was a lot of like strategy.
The strategy, but you came from MMA, where strategy, where
there
you were
we go.
sharp.
I was like, I never realized that I was a strategist until I did that, and I was like, wait, this makes total sense because I'm constantly strategizing like how to disassemble people's bodies. Like I'm a problem solver.
That's amazing.
So yeah, thinking outside the box in that one, and thankfully I had Todrick as well, who was an expert. He was like a super fan, and so he guided me through it because I knew nothing.
Right.
I got like 2 weeks notice I was gonna be on that show. I wasn't even a first
2 week
pick.
notice too.
This was not like planned. Someone dropped out and like I got called on a short notice.
I remember you disappeared and I was trying I would keep asking Johnny, I'm like, where is she? Where is she? He's like, I can't say right now. I'm like, something's going on here. Why is it not telling me where? I can't say right now.
So.
It's because all of a sudden he starts showing up to the gym with the kids and stuff. I'm like, where's Miesha at?
Yeah. That was an interesting time, but it paid off. You know, I ended up winning the whole thing. So that was crazy.
And I think that comes from the lessons that and the trials and tribulation. You fought in front of millions of people, going on Celebrity Big Brother. And
I do good under pressure.
Of course. Well, you have to. It's kind of what you were wired to do.
Quiet all the noise and all the distractions and the other people and be like, what's the goal? What's the task? So, yeah.
Sweet. So the one thing that I always ask at the end is, if today was your last day, what is the legacy of Miesha Tate? What do you want to be remembered for? What do you want your kids to remember you for? What do you want your fiance, your husband, the community, the MMA community? Who's Miesha Tate?
I want to be remembered for someone who genuinely tried to make the world a better place, whether it was leading my own charge in becoming a world champion, or whether it was, you know, dedicating myself to being a mother, or whether it's working with women, as I like to now talk about women's hormones, health, and optimization, because I think it's an underserved community. Right. I have a genuine passion for knowledge, and I have a genuine craving to help the world and help the people who I can. So that's it. That's really what, you know, what I want to be remembered for. I'm a God-fearing woman. I'm a mom. I'm many, many other things, but it only matters what we pass forward, really. Someday when we're gone, like, what did we leave the rest of the world with? Like, what is our continuing legacy? Is it just like, oh, that's cool thing she did? Like, it's like, no, I want to impact people. I want to help people.
Absolutely. For myself, it's that you have been a huge inspiration just watching you go through the game and stuff like that. Like, even my wife, like, she's not an MMA fighter, but I remember when we were in Tokyo for one, she's like, oh my God, Miesha's there. I'm like, you want to talk to her? She's like, no. I'm just like, whoa, this is crazy, because she's never like that. But she's tuned into a bunch of fights. But you don't just inspire women and men inside the cage and stuff, but just in life in general. And I'm sure just if people dove even deeper into your story, there's even more things like myself, like I got from this. It's been absolutely amazing. But you have been, I remember coming to Extreme and just meeting you, and you were one of the nicest people that I met, and you still are. And you still,
thank you.
Yeah, you have been one of the sweetest people, including Johnny also, and just even being over in one when I'm still there, but you were always there as somebody that would kind of guide me and kind of make sure I was kind of navigating myself well. And I remember getting my first post-fight interview was with you in Malaysia, in Kuala Lumpur.
Yeah.
But yeah, you've been absolutely amazing, and this was a huge honor. Like this for me, I've done a few of the episodes, and I was really excited about this one to get you in here.
Thank you. Make it happen.
Thank you so much for coming in.
Absolutely.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.